Hello YouTube, it has been a minute. The shop is fairly full right now of 3 jobs going on. There's a kitchen, there's a bunch of drawer parts. These white cabinets is marine plywood with laminate interiors. Rather expensive boxes. They'll all be going soon, and I was cleaning up the shop, but the back end is rather messy right now, so I don't want to show you. It's a little bit of a disaster. There is a Corsi Rosenthal box with a fan filter. That's my temporary one I got going on. We have another small HEPA filter over here. Today's project is to use this Caterpillar brand fan to make a large dust collector / filter box based on 3D Handyman's version. You can check out his channel. He's got some great stuff. So I'm going to be changing the blade on the panel saw and milling some drawer parts and then getting to work on the filter box. So I have 4 pieces at 24 inches by 2 3/4 and 4 pieces at 47.5 by 2 3/4. I'm going to mill some pieces for the end, and then I'm going to set up and do half laps. So we'll end up with a frame that is 24 by 47.5, and then I will also have one let into the middle. But I'm not sure, probably not quite this wide. The edge of the filter is 3/4 inches border all the way around. So yeah, we're gonna have 18.5 inch space square for the 20 by 20 filters. Sorry if there's a lot of fan noise. I got the heaters going. It's pretty cold this morning. So I let these dry overnight. I just unclamped them. They turned out pretty good. They've got a tiny little bit of a horn, obviously. Right? I'm going to trim those up. I was going to route them off with a flush trim router bit. But then it sounds a little blow at the end, and you got to back it up with another block and blah, blah. Anyway, I'm just going to do it on the table saw. I will show you a little trick. A scrap. Now this one's going to be, doesn't need to be super long. You basically want to be flush with this side of the blade, or, oh, that's a nice band-aid. So you want to be just flush with this side of the blade, or just a tiny bit past, so you leave just a tiny little bit, you can clean up with a sanding block. here's the basic frame. Not gonna lie, I had a few mild discrepancies. So we got the top, two sides, one end and a bottom assembled. It's just glued and stapled. I may run a bead of caulk along the inside corners if I find it necessary. I did glue it, but I didn't go crazy with the glue, so I got a little bit of squeeze out that I wiped up. It should have a fairly good seal, and air should probably go through the path of least resistance through the filters, so I think it'll be fine. I may caulk the inside. I don't know if it'll be necessary. It's been a week or two. I'm back working on the air cleaner / cart. I've gone back and forth with what I was going to do and this and that, and have permanent screens on the inside for vacuuming, or screens that can move in and out with the filters. Well, I've gone back and forth a million times. It's going to have the fan end open up to get in for cleaning, but also the other end where the filter pops out. And I've decided to just put a plywood end on where the fan goes, cut a circle. It'll be permanently attached. I can access it from the far end. I can easily get a vacuum in there to vacuum it with an attachment. And I'm going to have 3 frames on the inside. It'll have the silkscreen material attached, so I can vacuum it from the inside. The outside I can blow it with a leaf blower, but the airflow will be going in and then through the filters, and I'd like to vacuum the dust out the same way. I think if you vacuum from the other side, it might actually pull superfine dust and clog the filters. That's my thinking anyway. So I've decided to make 3 interior frames for the 2 sides on the top that will have silkscreen material, and that can be easily taken out, and then you can replace the silkscreen material if you need to easily on a bench, and then put the whole unit in. Oh, I won't be able to get in there. See, another chain. So I got my frames all done. I have the silkscreen material attached, some tuck tape around the edge. It's taut enough. I imagine that would probably not be adequate for actual silk screening. If I can do this. It's good enough for running a vacuum attachment over. And then I'm going to screw through this side, and then this frame will press against the material and the tape, hopefully holding it in place. It's not like you have to use this every day to vacuum, so it should hold up pretty well. I have my main frame. It is only glued and 1.5 inch stapled together, which is quite strong, but I'm going to be building it into a cart, so I'm going to just add a few screws. There's no need to go crazy. It's pretty strong. And the next thing to do is get the cat fan and lay it out on this plywood end and cut a hole. And then we can attach this end. So I just drew a circle with the little trammel thing here. I have set it to be basically just inside this 15-inch interior. So I'm just a hair tiny bit bigger than that. So basically I'll have pretty much the whole width of this lip to have weather stripping and whatever. So we're at this stage. We've got the end on. my hole cut out. I am just putting on the build outs to hold the filters and the weather stripping. I was going to make individual frames to fit in each one and also have some silk screen mesh on them just to protect them from getting banged into from the exterior. It's just going to be part of a cart rolling around the shop. But it was an incredible amount of work to make a bunch more little frames, and I was also going to, instead of having raw plywood edges on these, I was actually going to have them originally be solid wood, and then I was going to put a 1/4-inch facing strip on them just for robustness, but it's not really necessary. This thing was already getting like way overbuilt. So I'm just spreading glue on these frames. They are just butt joints that I pinned together on the corners. It's 20 1/8 of an inch on the inside. So most filters are about 19 3/4. So it'll give a little wiggle room. And then I'm going to have weather stripping inside and then turn buttons to hold the filter in place. And on the end, I will have an interior screen panel with the mesh. And that whole piece can come out so you can access from the end without taking the fan off to vacuum out the inside. That's where we're at. So I've got this little brush. It actually works pretty well. So I should have been rolling this instead of blabbing away. Oops. So it works pretty well. And I just want to have pretty good glue contact without getting a ton of squeeze out. Man, did I laugh when this thing came in the mail. I ordered it. I knew it wasn't going to be big, but I thought it was going to be more like a 4-inch roller. It was hilarious. But I will say this, it does work very well. And glue won't stick to it. It's fairly easy to clean. So we'll let it dry, and then you gotta break the pieces off. Wink. This one's being kind of a pain. There we go. There we go. Okay. So use a combination square just to mark up my lines. And then, if I can do this one-handed, it's very barely visible. Okay. So yeah, just line up to your lines. I don't know if you can see them here. And just check it all the way around and make sure it's more or less even. And then you can pin it home. So I'll just start on one side, basically run one edge, and then do a parallel edge, and then this one basically should be pretty close, and just make sure it's on the lines. Oh. The bottom I put on with a really light bead of glue, and honestly I wasn't convinced it was going to be airtight. And I didn't have any caulk that I wanted to cut open. So I just took the glue bottle and slammed a bunch into the corner. So hopefully it'll be airtight enough. Kind of messy, but you won't really see it. basically provide just a tiny bit of pressure onto the weather stripping. And the weight really rests on this little shelf, and the bottom kind of registers in there. So there's not a ton of pressure on these top buttons. I don't know if you can see them in this shot because I'm such a terrible filmer. Yeah, so this just sits off. So this shelf just has a block to bring it out, so this lip fits in there nice. The weather stripping. On the inside you can see, there's my silk screen material. I haven't used it too much. Most of it's caught on the end down there. I have a frame I made for silk screen material for that end, because that end one comes off by itself. And I want to be able to get in from either end if I wanted, but I'll probably just get in from the fan end. Anyway, as for the rest of the cart, just got these covers. So there's a rabbet cut into these. So when it's unscrewed, it sits off the frame just a tiny bit. It just adds a little bit of pressure to the weather stripping without crushing the filter, but it gives a nice good fit. This top I made out of some scraps. This whole thing was scraps, actually. It's not attached yet. I've got to put a few registration blocks. So it's the same up here. I did put a center brace in, so the top of this won't sag. And then there's 7 slots and 6 filters. So I have one filled in with a 3/4 inch melamine panel. So you could add an extra filter if you wanted, but they do come in packs of 6. Or you could eliminate a filter if you needed, or if you had a damaged filter, you could also temporarily fill one in.